What's up? Episode 221, Writer Radio, brought to you by Brian Janik, financialguys.com. Hello, how are you? It's Monday, December 8th, 2025. It's cold. I'm cold. I'm cold down here. I've had a thing. We've lived in this house for 6 years, something like that. And we've had a thing kind of the whole time where when it gets cold and the heat comes on, the heat comes on. When we turn the heat on, it's never warm enough upstairs, like in the bedrooms. It's just the heat doesn't get there in the same way that it gets to the first floor. And I finally, a couple days ago, went around the basement and really closed all the vents. Like there's, vents in the ducts that, the heat generates from down here. The furnace is down here. And then if you have the ducts there's, I think, 3 different vents over the course of all the ductwork down here in the basement. I think there's 3 vents, and I've had them closed mostly, but it's been pretty warm down here, and then it's perfect on the first floor, and then the second floor is just bad, cold. In an effort to improve the temperature in the bedrooms on the second floor of the house, I've got the vents now fully closed. Like, we don't need heat in the basement. Who cares? Even though I spend the majority of my time down here because all my stuff is down here, including the show. But, the projector and the music and the couch and the recliner and there's a lot of stuff. Like, I like it here. I like it down here. But I'm, like, my hands are tucked into my sleeves right now like this because I'm cold, man. I'm cold. I might put my hood up. But it's better for the rest of the family, worse for me. I think that's the sacrifice. That's what dad's got to do, man. That's the sacrifice you make. So your children don't turn into icicles when they're sleeping, when it's 8 degrees out or whatever the hell's going on outside. Are we doomed this winter? It seems too early for it to be this cold. I know random things happen. I know we had a storm in November that shut down the world several years ago, or October, excuse me. That was an October storm. We've had these things happen. But I don't know, man. I got a bad feeling about this winter. Temperature-wise. Snow-wise, I can't predict. I'm not, am I Don Paul? What do I look like? Do I look like Don Paul? I'm not Don Paul. It just feels cold, too early. And now I'm feeling it in the basement. Honestly, I have rugs in many spots, but I moved this desk, and now I'm on concrete, and I'm in socks, and I think I probably should put some shoes on, and maybe that would help. Because I think maybe I'm freezing myself from the base right up. Like the cold is shooting into me. But this is uncomfortable. Even with a Bills win, I'm cold. Bills wins usually make me feel warm and fuzzy and happy. I'm fuzzy and happy. I'm just not warm, I guess is what I would say. I guess this is tough because Scott Wilson will be on at 11. And the best part of the show is when I have a guest on. Whether it's Scott twice a week, Bob once a week, anybody else whenever they show up, it's better. And all the football stuff is definitely better with Scott. But I kind of don't want to even talk about the Bills game, but I'm going to. But I kind of want to just wait because it's more fun when he's here. I miss you, Scott. Why don't you just call it? Why don't you just be on the show the whole time, man? Why don't you just do that? Just take 2 hours out of your workday and come sit on the show with me. Come on, man. You can do it. So I don't want to get into everything, but whatever. I'm just going to do what I got to do. Like, for example, not even Bills related. Hall of Fame, baseball. Jeff Kent is going to the Hall of Fame. Scott sent me a tweet, or he referenced a tweet. I didn't actually see the tweet, but he said, "Oh, okay." He said, "This is the best way to sum up Jeff Kent going into the Hall of Fame." It's like the guy when they used to walk Barry Bonds always. to get to Jeff Kent, that guy's in the Hall of Fame and Bonds is not. You're doing it wrong, Cooperstown. You're doing it wrong. You're screwing it up. This of the players in my lifetime that I've watched start to finish, watch their whole career. And I'm not saying I've seen every Jeff Kent at bat, but I was aware of Jeff Kent the entire time he was playing baseball. This is the worst addition to Cooperstown of my lifetime. I hate Bert Blyleven being in the Hall of Fame. This is worse than that. I've always said, if Rafael Palmeiro ever gets into the Hall of Fame, I'm done with the Hall of Fame. I've been there probably, I would guess 5 times in my lifetime. 4 previous to kids, once with the whole family. And if things go right, we're going again next year. Not next year, not next baseball season after this one. Their team's already formed, so 2027. When Nate's 12, the plan is for that team to go to Cooperstown for a tournament. And obviously we would go to the Hall of Fame. If I go to Cooperstown for a baseball tournament, I'm going to the Hall of Fame again. And Palmeiro will not be in because Palmeiro has been caught up in the steroid, PED era. And likely, if Bonds and Clemens aren't in, they're doing it wrong. If that same thing that keeps them out keeps Palmeiro out, they're kind of doing it right. I'm not sure, but Palmeiro's been kind of my guidepost. I don't know for if things are okay or not. And when he's in, I'm out. I'm done. I don't go to the Hall of Fame anymore. Is what I've been saying. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if I'll actually stick to it, but it greatly will diminish the power of saying so-and-so is a Hall of Famer if that includes Rafael Palmeiro, who was he was a B-plus student, and now we're going to put him on the honor roll. He was a B student. He was good. He was good. That was a good player. He's fine. But that's not what Hall of Fame means. And oh my God, Jeff Kent. It didn't occur to me that we'd have to have a conversation about Jeff Kent and the Hall of Fame. He's a 5-time All-Star. He did win the MVP once. How is that possible? He was the MVP in 2000 as a member of the Giants. He hit 334, 33 home runs, 125 RBI. He's got the most home runs ever for a second baseman. That's not anything. This is no knock on second baseman. I like baseball. I like second baseman. I liked playing second base. I played second base a lot as a old guy in softball. Because typically, old guy built. Well, I wasn't old then. I guess that's true. But a big dude built like me tends to play first base or third base or pitch, and I pitched a lot. But limited mobility. The mobility is not limited. It's the speed with which I move that is a major question when making a lineup. If you're Paul Hamilton, let's say, and you're making a lineup because Paul Hamilton is the Terry Pagula of the question marks. If Terry Pagula also played on occasion. I don't think Paul plays much anymore, but he still runs a team, organizes it, keeps people together. His team's been going for 30 years. The question marks have been on the Western New York softball radar for a long time. And I would play second base. I liked it. I'm okay with a glove. I'm good with an arm. I get panicky when I have to make a throw, so second to first is better. But that's a position for a guy who can't field, kind of. And that's Jeff Kent. He has the most home runs of a guy who plays a position where you can't do anything. I'm not saying there's nothing to playing second base. There's something there. But, like, if you're coaching a Little League team and you got a kid who can't play the field, where would you hide him? You got to play him. Where do you hide him? That's a good place. It's not ideal. You'd rather have a good player there. But you can hide somebody there, and that's Jeff Kent. Jeff Kent, congratulations on having the most home runs of a second baseman. Your coach was hiding you. Your manager was hiding you at second the whole time. He did play some third, too, I remember. And likely played some outfield. But, oh, my God, is that not a Hall of Famer? It's like the opposite of what that's just a good player. We can have good players that we don't honor with a bronze. It's not even a bust. What is that thing called? Plaque. It's a 3D plaque, so it's kind of a bust, but it's not a bust. It's a plaque. Jeff Kent, it's in the Hall of Fame. Look, kids, there's Ty Cobb. Look, kids, there's Babe Ruth. Who's this guy with the mustache? That once, what did he do? He got hurt falling off a truck. He claimed he was washing his truck, if I remember correctly. I need to look this up. If I look up Jeff Kent washing truck, you know who would know this? Bulldog. Bulldog, Chris Parker, if you're listening, call me on my regular cell phone, and I'll talk to you immediately. Jeff Kent in the Hall of Fame makes me think of Bulldog. I feel like we laughed at Jeff Kent a lot. I should have texted him. I still could, I guess. I could do it. I'd have to do it while we're talking. All right, I'm gonna Google the Jeff Kent truck thing. Jeff Kent washing truck. Jeff Kent car wash. Kent truck car wash. Jeff Kent wash. Let's see if this is anything. There he is. Yeah. All right. 10th anniversary in 2012. So this means it happened in 2002, which is when I was working with Bulldog. March 1st, 2012 was the 10th anniversary of Jeff Kent washes his truck. All right. Hall of Famer Jeff Kent. He wasn't called that then because it seemed absurd at the time. It seems absurd now, but now it's true. 10 years ago today, and by today, I mean on March 1st, 2012. So March 1st, 2002, a very special injury occurred. Usually injuries are sad news, doubly so when it's a prominent player. But what happened on March 1st, 2002, inspired a round or two of jokes, made it at the expense of the injured player. Even now, a decade later, and I will say even now 13 years beyond that, so 23 years later, all I have to do is mention the name of the injured player, and you can fill in the rest. The player, Jeff Kent. Here we go. Yep, a decade ago then was the truck washing heard round the world. Oh, I'm so glad this story exists. Thank you. This is from Fangraphs and the Hardball Times. Okay. Truck washing heard around the world. It started out simply enough. A news report emerged. The Giants' second baseman and 2000 NL MVP Jeff Kent had broken a bone in his wrist and would miss the rest of spring training and maybe part of the regular season. Bummer. Then the fun began as details emerged. How did he break his wrist? Well, he did it while washing his truck. Come again? Yeah. It was just a fluke accident is all. Nothing to see here. Kent always prided himself on being the average guy. And he said, like many average guys, he likes to drive around in a truck and wash it out when he needs to. Kent climbed atop the cab. It doesn't say as the story goes, but as the story goes, Kent climbed atop the cab of his oversized off-road truck and slipped, falling 6 feet to the ground. He used his left hand to break his fall. It jammed his thumb into his wrist, breaking a bone. Ouch. Might sound weird, but you couldn't doubt, right? I mean, he had witnesses and everything as the injury occurred at a public do-it-yourself car wash. Weird, it's a bummer. But the injury was so weird that some Giants, and even Kent, made jokes about his unlikely injury, so it already earned a few laughs. Why was he on top of the cab of the truck? Okay. Then the laughs became louder. You see, a group of eyewitnesses came forward. They'd also seen Jeff Kent on the day of his injury, only not at a do-it-yourself car wash. No, they'd seen a man matching Kent's description earlier that day on a stretch of highway on a motorcycle doing stunts like popping wheelies. Check that. They saw a man matching Kent's description earlier that day attempting to do stunts on his motorcycle He didn't really succeed, and instead they saw him wipe out, but good. Brushed himself off and moved along and told everyone not to tell anyone what they saw. You damn well better believe he didn't want anyone to know what he'd just done. It was against his contract with the Giants to do motorcycle stunts, and if he injured himself doing one, he could lose a good chunk of cash. So Kent, quote, washed his truck, unquote, to provide an excuse for his injury. He went to the do-it-yourself public car wash to give himself an alibi. It was a perfect crime, or not. It all blew up in his face and launched jokes at his expense. Things didn't work out badly for Kent, though he had a broken bone. He only missed 4 games of the season, went on to have one of the best years of his career, batting .313 with 37 homers and 42 doubles. Best of all, behind Kent and Bonds, Barry Bonds, mostly Bonds, the Giants won their first pennant in 13 years, came close to a World Series title, but that all lay in the future. 10 years ago today, comedians could start revving up their jokes at Kent's expense. Aside from that, many other baseball events celebrate their anniversary or day-versary, which is something occurring X thousand years ago today. Here they are with the better ones in bold if you prefer to skim the list. Do I? Rick Helling pitches 2000th game. Ricky Henderson signed with the Pirates. These are stupid. Barry Larkin hit 2 triples in a game. That's a real dude. At age 34, 2 triples. That's a real Hall of Famer. Jeff Kent's not a Hall of Famer. What are we doing? Roger Clemens, 50th game. You can't even tell the story of Jeff Kent without accidentally mentioning Barry Bonds. Bonds didn't get many votes at all. The story on Kent. Jeff Kent in the Hall of Fame. He was named on 14 of 16 ballots by the Contemporary Baseball Era Committee, 2 more than he needed for induction. Kent's selection, just as noteworthy as Kent's selection, were the names of those who didn't earn enough support, which included the all-time home run leader, Barry Bonds, 354-game winner, Roger Clemens, 2 MVPs from the 80s, Don Mattingly and Dale Murphy, plus Gary Sheffield, who hit 509 home runs. Bonds, Clemens, Sheffield, and Dodgers great Fernando Valenzuela were named on fewer than 5 ballots. According to a new protocol introduced by the Hall of Fame that went into effect with this ballot, players drawing 5 or fewer votes won't be eligible the next time their era is considered. They can be nominated again in a subsequent cycle, but if they fall short of 5 votes again, they will not be eligible for future consideration. So Bonds is starting to head in, and Clemens, and I don't care that much about Sheffield or Valenzuela. It's fine. You cannot tell the story of baseball in my lifetime without Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens. Jeff Kent is forgettable. Burt Blyleven is forgettable. What are we doing with the Hall of Fame? What are we doing? The candidacies of Bonds and Clemens have long been among the most hotly debated among Hall of Fame aficionados because of their association with PEDs. You tell me Jeff Kent didn't cheat? Jeff Kent lied to you about washing his truck when he broke his wrist. Also, he broke his wrist and made it back after 4 games. How? Did he use anything to help him get back? This is insane. If Bonds, Clemens, Sheffield, and Valenzuela are nominated when their era comes around in 2031, I don't know this eras thing. I don't know what that is. I thought we had current and then like old school. I thought there were 2 different votes. Like football. And how did we get where all the halls of fame are voting at the same time? Not all, but baseball and football, because we've got football Hall of Fame stuff to talk about too. We're getting down to the finalists. That one will be decided. If they haven't changed things, the new class gets decided the day before the Super Bowl, which I remember from Jim Kelly got in when I was at the Super Bowl in 2002. 2002 Super Bowl, New Orleans. It was Rams-Patriots. It was the first Patriots Super Bowl win. And I went there to do shows for the week leading up to the game, but I didn't stay for the game. So I flew home on the Saturday of the Super Bowl, the day before the Super Bowl. I flew home. And I remember landing, and my dad picked me up, and that's when I found out that Jim Kelly had gotten into the Hall of Fame. So that's where the football part gets resolved. Over the course of the last couple days, I saw like Steve Tasker, not a finalist. They're into the finalists. They're into the Veterans Committee, that kind of stuff. That's all happening. But baseball happened too. And Jeff Kent, a bunch of people who know baseball, who are educated enough in the history of the game to be the people who decide who goes into the Hall of Fame, got together. And there wasn't enough of a movement for Bonds, best player of my lifetime. Roger Clemens, best pitcher of my lifetime. I might be a little off, but, top 5 for sure on both. But I think, top 5 and the other 4 in the Hall of Fame type of deal. The best players not in the Hall of Fame are named Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens. That's true. That's just true. And then these people, whoever they are, get together and they're like, what would make Cooperstown a better place to visit for Brad Ryder and his family? A bronze mustache attached to Jeff Kent, a middle-of-the-pack player. He was a good player. I guess you'd rather have him than not have him, unless he's washing his truck. Gotta look up his stats. This is annoying to me. Jeff Kent reference. All right, let's see what Jeff Kent looks like here. Do they already have a Hall of Fame on him? No, they don't. Good. All right, career, he hit 290. He had 377 homers. Look, that's a good player. Yay. We miss you. Put him on the wall of fame in San Francisco. But he also played for Toronto, the Mets, Cleveland, Houston, Dodgers. Played till he was 40. Nobody cared. Came in 8th for the MVP, 9th for the MVP. He was an All-Star, 26th for the MVP. Won the MVP in 2000 as discussed. All-Star, Silver Slugger, 6th for the MVP, 13th, 19th. What are we talking about? What are we doing? 17 years in baseball. One super noteworthy year. 5-time All-Star. That's fine. I shouldn't have to denigrate the career of Jeff Kent. He should be celebrated as a really good player. But he can't go in the Hall of Fame ahead of the guy they always walked to get to him. Always. So he's on the Giants from 97 to 02. When is Bonds on the Giants? 97 to 02. Remember that. Write that down. You don't have to write it down. But if I had an assistant, I'd say write it down. Producer, write that down. 97 to 02. Bonds reference. Bonds was on the Giants from 93 to 07. So there's a chunk in the middle of that where Jeff Kent was the guy who would hit behind Bonds, and then they would walk Bonds to get to him. So he's automatically got a guy on base, always. And for a year, that really worked out. Like, how did Bonds do in 2000? In 2000, when Jeff Kent was the MVP, Bonds finished second for MVP. Oh, my God. It's so bad. It falls apart immediately. Why? I know I haven't done enough to earn a right to be a part of the conversation, to select people to be enshrined at Cooperstown. I know that. But how about that? How about the year that he's the MVP? Who is Jeff Kent? Jeff Kent is a guy who fell off a truck, in theory, not really, but pretended to fall off a truck when he got hurt, and is the guy who got to bat a lot with Barry Bonds on first base. Like, without looking anything up, that's who he is. And mustache. In an era where people didn't have mustaches. He could go in the Mustache Hall of Fame. He's a mustache king. Dude was just riding, like carrying the torch for mustaches in the late 90s, early 2000s when no one had a mustache. He did that and also got to bat with Bonds on first all the time. Let's take away how many of his RBIs in his MVP season were him driving in Barry Bonds, who had been walked so they could face him. Like, I get being, if I'm a Giants fan in that era, and I love Jeff Kent, I'm laughing at teams for walking Bonds. Oh, you're bringing up my boy. My boy's good too. Look out. You think you're going to stop us by walking Barry Bonds? Ha ha. I'm going to show you something different here. I get that part. That's not the Hall of Fame. It's not the Hall of Fame. It's not what we're supposed to be doing here. Bonds that year. How many times did he walk that year? Oh, only 117. It was the following year where they really started walking Bonds. His walk total went from 117 to 177, 198, 148, but he only played in 130 games. And then the next year, 147 games played, 232 walks. Crazy. Barry Bonds was walked 2,558 times in his career. He finished second for the MVP in 2000. The next year, people understood what they were talking about. Like, they're like, we're sorry. Sorry about that Jeff Kent thing. And they gave Bonds the MVP in 01, and then also in 02, and then also in 03, and then also in 04. In earning your way, like the discussion about Jeff Kent getting into the Hall of Fame obviously includes he's an MVP. But then if you just look at Bonds, yeah, okay, dude was an MVP. Jeff Kent was an MVP in 2000, except finishing second was Bonds, and then the next year they went, oh, we got it wrong. We meant Bonds. We said Kent, we meant Bonds. And we will do that again each of the next 3 years following it. So 4 consecutive MVPs for Bonds. The year before, he finishes second to Jeff Kent. Can I see the voting? I wonder if I can see the MVP voting. Yes, I can. Jeff Kent had 392 votes, and Barry Bonds had 279. So, I mean, pretty solidly, he moved ahead of him there. But why? Why was he? They played in roughly the same number, 16 different. Kent played 159, Bonds 143. But Jeff Kent had 107 more at-bats than Bonds. Why? Because they kept walking Bonds to get to Kent. Bonds had 16 more home runs that year. Bonds was a little lower on the RBI thing, but they never intentionally walked anybody to get to Bonds. They didn't put a runner on base. If you hit 33 home runs and the dude in front of you is constantly walked intentionally so they can face you, we kind of have to take away a bunch of those RBI when we're talking about MVP. So I'm sort of arguing, I mean, it starts with, oh my God, Jeff Kent's in the Hall of Fame, and that's stupid. But part of him getting into the Hall of Fame is bad information. It's bad data. This is something we discuss all the time. If you don't know what you're talking about, but then a bunch of people feed into your brain a bunch of bad information, and then you start making decisions, you feel like you're smart. You feel like you're doing it right. I did my research. I saw that Jeff Kent drove in 125 RBI, or 125 batters, or runners, excuse me. I did my research. Look at all those runs batted in. Well, why? Why do you have them? Because they put the guy who's better than him on base for free, and then you got the bat. And that's the highlight by a mile of his career is an MVP he shouldn't have won. But 25 years removed from that vote, that's not a part of the conversation. It should be. I should be on this committee. Why don't people ask me to help them with things? I'll help. You can still do it. Just let me advise you. I have some good ideas. Here's one of them. Don't put that guy in the Hall of Fame ever. And also, you're doing yourself a disservice by not telling the true story of the game when you don't have Bonds in the Hall of Fame and you don't have Clemens in the Hall of Fame. Make the thing a different color. Make the plaque a different... I don't care. And Pete Rose. Obviously, Pete Rose, too. Jeff Kent's in the Hall of Fame. Pete Rose isn't in the Hall of Fame. Jeff Kent's in the Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds isn't in the Hall of Fame. Bert Blyleven's in the Hall of Fame. Roger Clemens isn't in the Hall of Fame. I don't know how this gets fixed. You need an overthrow. Coup d'etat in Cooperstown. Cooperstown d'etat is necessary. They're getting it wrong. They're ruining the coolest place on earth. When it was just Pete Rose, that was and Shoeless Joe. But when it was Shoeless Joe Jackson and Pete Rose and it was gambling and we were like, okay, I mean, it's stupid, but they broke the only rule. There was one rule. Don't break that rule. Murder, fine, Ty Cobb. Don't bet on or, excuse me, be caught betting on or around baseball. Just don't do that. And that was fine. But now, like, it's Cooperstown, brought to you by FanDuel. And Pete Rose is dead and can't come in. Roger Clemens isn't in. And Barry Bonds isn't in. And now making it worse, rubbing our faces in it, is Jeff Kent being in. That's dumb. I was texting with Scott Wilson, who will join me soon. It's been an hour. I've been talking about Jeff Kent for an hour. Okay. I was texting with Scott yesterday about this whole thing, and he, brought it to my attention. And I said, well, Jeff Kent is immediately the worst player in the Hall of Fame of the ones I know. I don't know. I can't say who didn't deserve to be there from the 1920s. I don't know. But of guys I've watched, I saw his entire career, and it was fine. It was fine. He had a fine career. He was a good player. You can't put him in the Hall of Fame because you've got this, bug up your ass about the PED thing. I get McGuire not being in the Hall of Fame. Despite the fact, and this conflicts with my overall concept, my overall theory, or stance that you can't tell the story. You can't. It's true. You cannot tell the story of Major League Baseball in the 90s, 2000s without Mark McGuire's name coming up. But when the steroid thing is a massive deal, and that screwed things up for a while, and everything about him is power. He went from regular power hitter to lumberjack who hits ball out of building. And that's his whole thing. I can understand having some trepidation about adding him to the list of the all-time greats and enshrining him and honoring him. I get that. I think I'd still probably put him in, but I get that. That is not the case with Bonds. And this is highlighting the overall stupidity of the system when you put in the guy that used to bat behind Bonds and get walked, Bonds would get walked, and then he'd get the bat. How many times did Jeff Kent drive in Barry? Let's see if AI can do that. In 2000, how many times did Jeff Kent drive in Barry Bonds? Is I think, a reasonable question. All right, I'm just going AI mode on Google. We'll see what they think. In the year 2000, how many times did Jeff Kent drive in Barry Bonds for the San Francisco Giants? No way this is going to work. Thinking, searching. All right. Kent drove in Barry Bonds for the Giants approximately 45 to 55 times during the 2000 season. While official box scores for this specific situational statistic are not readily available, a general analysis of the season provides a strong estimate. Kent typically batted cleanup fourth, directly behind Bonds third in the batting order, and was consistently among league leaders in runs batted in. Bonds scored 129 in 2000. Jeff Kent drove in 125. Bonds had an on-base percentage of .440, meaning he was on base frequently when Kent came to the plate. Bonds had 49 home runs that year, meaning he cleared the bases by himself many times, so Kent didn't drive those in. Given Kent consistently batted behind Bonds and was a powerful run producer, a significant portion of his RBIs would have involved Bonds as the runner scoring. So, all right, that's an AI estimate, 45 to 55 of his RBIs. So now we look at his statistics. He had 125 that year. He drove in 125 runs. Let's be conservative. We'll take away 45 of them. Now he drove in 80. And Bonds drove in 106. And Bonds hit 49 home runs. And Bonds got walked 117 times. And that is if you're making a case for Jeff Kent, if you're his mom presenting him to the Hall of Fame committee, the best piece of evidence you have that he belongs in Cooperstown is his season in 2000, where he was named MVP. The guy he kept driving in finished second and was infinitely better than him. Who do I report this to? Do we write a letter? Is there a petition? This is not a knock on Jeff Kent. He was great as a decent player. Like you want him on your team if he's not doing motorcycle stunts and lying and pretending he fell off a truck and then lying to people, telling 25 years later, I remember it. Like, ugh. All right, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to play a song, and then Scott's going to join me. I did not intend to talk about Jeff Kent for 1 hour. Here's the good news. Haven't really talked about the Bills yet or other things that happened in the NFL. So we got all that. I have a feeling Scott's going to come on and want to talk about Jeff Kent. This might be a whole show about Jeff Kent. Then we can do the Bills tomorrow, I guess. I don't know. Jeff Kent in the Hall of Fame is stupid. It really is. All right. I'll be back in a few. Scott will join me. Stick around. It's Writer Radio.
Let's check in with Writer Radio's senior football correspondent, Scott Wilson.
I apologize for the music just cutting off there. I made an error in my calling of Scott Wilson. I accidentally plugged the phone in to the thing, and then as soon as it was ringing, it shut off the music. And I like that song, but the song ended. Scott's here. What's up, Scott Wilson?
What's up, man? This is a busy week.
It is.
In football. This has been a busy, because I got my whole laundry list yet again.
Okay.
We're ready. We're kicking. We're
good.
ready to go. I
accidentally spent the entire first hour of the show talking about Jeff Kent. So I haven't mentioned the Bills game. I haven't mentioned anything. It pisses me off, man. Well, the thing you sent is right. Like the guy that they would walk Bonds to get to, is now in the Hall of Fame before Bonds. And I mean, you know how I feel about not bad, mediocre, regular good kind of players getting in. Burt Blyleven is the example that we've had for a while, but Jeff Kent is just a baseball player. He's not anything at all. Like, if I had a Jeff Kent card, if I was going through, I got a collection of baseball cards, somebody died and there's this box of cards, and Brad, you get them. And I was going through and I was just sifting and I saw Jeff Kent. I would put him in the I don't care, set it on fire pile. And now he's in the Hall of Fame. So now I have to revisit my card collection, go looking for Jeff Kent cards. I don't know. It just sucks. And then even to think about the year he won MVP, he came in second. Or I'm sorry, he came in first. Bonds came in second that year. And then the next year, Bonds won it, and then he would win the next 3 or 4 or 5 in a row. And all that happened was the Giants got awesome, and the committee that voted for the media, whatever, picked the wrong guy. And then the next year they corrected it and gave it to the right guy. He had a bunch of runs batted in part because he was hitting behind Bonds, who got walked. I did an AI thing. It estimated 45 or 55 of the runs batted in were probably Bonds. And then now he's got 80. Now is he the MVP? No. Does he finish in 11th and Bonds finishes in first and then he wins it's so stupid. So I'm going to stop. That's not what we're doing. I don't even want your opinion on Bonds or on Kent or on Clemens or on Sosa or on McGuire or on Pete Rose. I don't want any of it. I want your laundry list of football stuff, but I wanted you to just be up to speed on what's been, grinding my gears for the last hour.
All right. Well, I'm going to comment on it anyway because I feel like I have to.
Okay.
But it will be very quick.
Okay.
Because we got all kinds of
You
stuff.
can comment. I'm going to not reply to your that's what I'm going to try to do.
Okay. All right. All those players that you just listed, setting Jeff Kent aside, I, for the most part, agree that they do not deserve to be in the Hall of Fame because their actions were not in good faith towards the game. Barry Bonds cheated the game by taking steroids. I know that there's an argument that says at the time it wasn't technically on the books as being illegal, but it is what it is. And I'm fine with that, and I'm fine with it because it's been a long time since I've been to the Hall of Fame, but I have been to the Hall of Fame before, and there are several exhibits and things there where, you will probably see a Barry Bonds bat or helmet or cleats or something from one of his performances. So he is represented in some way in the Hall of Fame while not being immortalized as being one of the greats in the history of baseball as the other players are. And I think A-Rod is probably in that conversation too, along with Roger Clemens. I'm open to discussion about all of them, but as of right now, I'm fine with them not being in. As far as Jeff Kent, I think Jeff Kent becomes, does Jeff Kent move into that just simply because they think that he's didn't take steroids? I don't know. If you're lopping off the top 15 to 20 players from that era, the guys that are below that you would have to look at as 15 to 20 spots higher than what they are. Mm-hmm. So while we all saw them, maybe we need to start taking an approach of, all right, well, if these other guys were cheating and we're really not going to honor them and say that their results were fake, then the other guys below them we need to start recognizing. And maybe that's what this is with Jeff Kent, because I agree. He is a Hall of very good player. But there's been all of the Hall of Fames have done this. First of all, I think that there's way too many people in the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, basketball's out of control. Yeah,
it's out of control, the number of people in that. I think baseball is almost at the opposite end of that, where historically they've kind of been a little bit too strict with it, but I would rather it be on that side of it.
Yes.
And I think football is starting to get a little bit more basketball-y with, all right, now there's a senior committee. and now there's a coach and then a contributor, and now we have to pick all that, and it's like, was Roger Craig really a Hall of Famer? I don't know. I don't think so, but he's got the possibility to be one now. I don't know. There's a major Hall of Fame conversation that I think that we definitely could have over all of them. But I agree with you. Jeff Kent is one of those guys where appears to be a good dude. He was a very good baseball player for a long time. If I had a vote, he would not be a Hall of Famer.
The first thing I think of when I think of Jeff Kent is him pretending that he fell off of his. I know, but the first thing
I got you.
He fell off his truck and broke his wrist and missed a bunch of spring training because he had a broken wrist. But it turns out he wasn't standing on top of his truck and washing it at a local car wash, as he made the story out to be. He was doing wheelies on a motorcycle and lied about it and had a mustache. Like, all of those things are strikes against him. And I don't, that's awful. That's like, don't ever go to Cooperstown again, awful to me. It's not Palmeiro, but it's almost, honestly, I always use Palmeiro as my example. I've always said if Palmeiro gets into the Hall of Fame, I'm done going there. This is worse than, he's not as good a player as Palmeiro. I know Palmeiro's got the PED thing, but just because you were testifying in front of Congress doesn't mean you weren't caught up in that era of baseball. If you were doing it right in the year 2000, you were using creatine minimally, whatever, something like
amphetamines,
whatever it was. Like, that's what baseball was. So we're gonna let Jeff Kent in because he wasn't good enough to have us go, he must be cheating. The other guys who are way better than him, it's just, it sucks. It all sucks.
Meth.
Right. Yeah, all of it.
Yeah.
All right. I'm done with baseball. Done with Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Football.
Let's go a little Bills.
Yeah. I haven't mentioned the game.
It for a while there looked like the biggest play of this season might be that fumble at the 1 yard line.
Yes.
By Cook, because the skies got really dark when that happened, man. It was real bad.
You mean the first one or the second one? The second one, right?
The one at the 1 yard line.
Not the one that went out of bounds. The one that actually was recovered by the Bengals. Yeah, okay.
Right. Because that one didn't go out the end zone, didn't hurt anybody. The run wasn't going to count anyway because of the penalty.
Right.
So, yeah, the one at the 1 yard line. Because now all of a sudden, for me, watching that, seeing the fumble, and then all of a sudden the first thing to flash in my head was, ooh, the rest of the schedule looks different now. Because I assume that instead of taking the lead here and being able to go tit for tat and say, all right, as long as we have the ball last, we're probably going to win because we have the lead. Say, woo, all right, now Burrow's going to go down the field here, and now you're right back to where you started, which they were, but got bailed out by those two big plays right in a row that, as of right now, have saved the season, saved the division race. I know that everybody's kind of given up on that. I think overall,
that's dumb. I think that's real dumb.
I don't think that you should now. I don't know if they're going to be good enough to finally get there.
Agreed.
But I think that this team is certainly able to win in Foxborough, get that win, and be within one game and turn the screws on a young team coming down the stretch. And I just think that that's definitely still in play here. So, and I don't know what the Denver situation is and what that is, but if you're going to say the division is still in play, the number one seed is still in play. Like, that fumble and then the interception, that turned everything, where you're thinking about, all right, we have to worry about making the playoffs now.
Yeah, a loss yesterday, we were worrying about that for sure.
All right, you get the pick six and then you get the follow-up interception. Those two plays made it change from we're going to really have to sweat this out here, coming and making sure that we can make the playoffs, to, hey, not for nothing, we could probably make a run at the division still, and if that's the case, that means the team that's tied for the first place in the conference, that means that the number 1 seed is
Right.
technically
Right
still
there.
there. I don't think they're going to get there because I think Denver still has a couple of easy games coming up. I know they have a Chiefs game in Arrowhead, but so they could drop a game back there. But that was a crazy game. It was fun with the snow. It was fun with everything else. It was fun because Burrow was there and we were seeing 2 quarterbacks go. And I know I don't want to filibuster here, but I do also want to say I have a great deal of sympathy for Joe Davis and Olsen, who were doing this game, because you and I have been, and Paul have been in this situation several times over 15 years, calling football games with UB, which is they are coming back from a break or going to it, I forget, and they are both like, listen, folks, this game is awesome. And we are seeing quarterback play at the highest level probably of any game this year. These 2 quarterbacks, with the conditions and everything else, are out here just straight up balling right now. Like, this is awesome. And then the next 2 plays are a pick 6 and another interception. And now they have to be like, I know that you're just tuning in. This game has been awesome. And I know that we just said that quarterback play has been great, but
it still has been.
It still has been. Please believe me, because there have been numerous times where I have been like, all right, in this situation, every time I've seen them in this formation at the left hash, they are running the football to the left, and they will play action pass it for a 40-yard touchdown.
All right.
And I'm like, well, I guess that changed.
Yeah, but also you were right. Also, you were right. Like, that's what they've been doing, because they were setting it up,
but
and
I
they
just
even
had
tricked
such
you.
sympathy for them in that moment, having to, for the next 5 minutes, because the game just joined them.
Right, dig your way out.
Be like, all right, bear with me. We're going to show you a highlight package to show you how cool this game has been and how good quarterback play is.
Yeah.
I know there was just 2 interceptions in 3 minutes.
Yeah, it was. There was a lot there. All right, the defensive plays obviously are where it turns. I mean, the first one is where it turns. The second one is where the Bills win the game. Basically, I mean, in my mind, I gotta say, just in general, I don't know if I've just gotten used to Allen and what the Bills are like with Allen, but I find myself panicking a lot less than everyone else, at least connected to me in my phone, or living in my house. Well, just my wife. The kids are fine. They ride with me on. It's not optimism. It's actually realism. It's like, look, okay, the fact that they just picked up another 3rd down and now they have 1st down and they're up by 6 or 3 and there's 17 minutes left of football. It doesn't mean it's over. Like, I think the expectations are so high that when you've got Josh Allen, you're going to go out there and you're going to win by 30 every week, and he's just going to do everything he wants to do, and he's just going to sling. So every tiny bump in the road feels like, spikes that are going to pop my tires and send me careening down a cliff to others. Not to me. It's like, yeah, they're fine. I mean, so much of Burrow's success and the Bengals' offensive success yesterday was by an inch, was by it just barely caught it, was by I'm not sure how they didn't get to him there. Not like it was all right. They weren't dissecting the Bills. They were just moving the ball and up by a little because Cook had fumbled early. None of it really felt super scary. And then it turned into the Bills kind of, taking it over, obviously, on those 2 defensive plays. And that's kind of how I feel about the season. And it goes back to what you're saying about the division race and the 1 seed and all of that. It's like, yeah, I know they're not 13-0 right now. I understand that. I understand that there are teams that are ahead of them. But I watch the Broncos play a lot. I watch the Patriots play a lot. I watch the Colts, I guess the Jaguars. I don't watch the Jaguars a lot. I don't know what's going on there, how that team has 9 wins. But regardless, look at the 7 teams that are listed for the playoffs. And then close your eyes and tell me who you can picture coming out of it. And, yeah, it's easier to do from the top than it is from the bottom. But I think they went from 7 to 5 as of right now, seeding-wise. And that's a little bit more comfortable. Like 7, it looks like, oh, no, watch out behind you. There's not any watch out behind you. They're going to the playoffs. Like, to me, they're in the playoffs. And the Patriots have to play them next week. And we've been talking, and I guess a big part of it is just the division standings, where I feel like the perception around town has been, oh, no, the Patriots are running away with, forget about the division. And it's like, don't you mean let the Patriots have a bye, win the game while they have the bye, then play them so you're right there and you have to be 1 game better than them over the course of 3 games? That doesn't seem crazy to me. And coming back didn't seem crazy to me. We said this in week 1, the Ravens game, as miraculous as that comeback was. And I part of it is us being trained on college football and specifically MAC football, where it's like 2 scores in the fourth quarter. That's nothing at all. That's score, stop, score. And then, like, I don't know. I have such a different perspective on it, I think, than others do. And I think they've got the best player in the league, and the rest of it can work itself out. Maybe it won't, but there's no way the Bills are losing the Super Bowl at any point in November or early December. They need to play well in January and then eventually in February for the season to be the thing that we want it to be, and everything is still on track for that. So I don't know, man. It's probably just being a seasoned MAC broadcaster that has allowed me to say, dude, forget what you've seen so far. It's okay. You're still right there. And that's the way it's been. That's the way it was in the game yesterday. That's the way it was in the game against the Ravens. And that's the way it is for the schedule overall. You're still right there. You got the game against the Patriots this week, and obviously it's a monster. It's obviously the game of the year for the Bills. You win that game, people suddenly, collectively, the world's going to go, ooh, the Bills actually do have a chance here. It's like, yeah, I know. Do the Bills have a chance to beat the Patriots? Uh-huh. And then if they do, will we all say they have a chance to win the division? Uh-huh. So why are we pretending that we won't? And that's kind of where I land.
Well, look at the playoff standings right now as of today. And you run through the quarterbacks of those teams. Tell me you don't feel great no matter where you're seated, as long as the Bills are in the tournament.
Right. Why would you pick somebody else? Why would you pick somebody else?
Right. Bo Nix, Drake May. We're talking about Burrow, potentially now Mahomes after another loss.
Yeah.
And
Lamar
out of the playoffs. Are you going to worry about
Herbert?
Maybe
Anthony Richardson?
Not even. He's still hurt.
Who's their quarterback? Who came in after Jones?
What's his name? Rookie from Howard? Maybe.
A rookie from Howard or a guy named Howard?
No. I think the quarterback from Ohio State.
Right,
that won the championship with them last year. I think was their third string.
Okay. I'm looking it up. Why does this show? Because this is a Colts-Rams game from September. Good God, that's not what I'm looking for. Do you know anything, computer?
It's Colts-Jags.
Yeah, I know, but it took me to week 1 or something. All right. Colts.
Well, while you look that up, either way.
Here, go ahead.
Let me just go through another quick NFL thing here before I jump to college. This weekend has been my favorite week of the year as a New York Giants fan. This was the bye week, but I also got to see the Colts fully enjoy the Daniel Jones experience, which was good for half a year. Teams start figuring him out. He starts turning the ball over, and then he gets broken. They're getting the full experience of Daniel Jones. Also, how about everybody else wins, and now the Giants have the first pick in the draft?
That's cool.
okay, all right, that'll make things a little bit spicier here in the off season. So yeah, this was a great week to be a Giants fan. I can't wait for them to win Week 18 in a meaningless game
And screw it
so
up.
that and
Draft
pick
sixth.
eighth. Yeah,
Riley Leonard.
as is-
Riley Leonard.
Riley Leonard,
Formerly of Notre Dame. Yeah.
Notre Dame. All right, so he was in the championship game, right? So yeah, the Colts. And if you look at the Colts' remaining schedule, I don't think they're making the playoffs.
No. No, that was cute. That was fun. Whatever. They, all these teams that flash to the top, they can't stay. It's gonna, I don't know. Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson, Riley Leonard, and Brett Rippon is what they've got there.
Yeah,
so
Brett
the top
Rippon's
two are out.
the only other choice.
Okay. All right. So yeah, Riley Leonard. No, I mean it's not surprising to me when you look and go, what the hell are they doing there? Why are they up top? And then you just wait a month and they're not. It's fine. It fixes itself. What are the Patriots doing leading the division? It's fine. It'll fix itself. Or it won't, but they're not running away with it. The Bills are the team to contend with. And when you look at the 7 teams that currently are in the playoffs, they're the one that pops off the page. Like the route to the Super Bowl it's not the same. So here's watching the game last night, right? Chiefs and Texans. And clearly, I want both of them to lose. And my wife, at one point, I wrote this down. I wrote down a quote from her. It's really funny. It speaks to how differently, let's say, you and I watch games compared to, my wife. She's not listening. I can talk about this, I think, right? Where is it? Notes. Where's my notes thing? I don't remember the name of the... color note. Okay, hold on. Her quote... We're watching it. She hates the Chiefs, of course. She's a Buffalonian. She watches the game. She's a human. She hates them. She says, the Texans have the ball. It's 4th and 1. It's the first quarter. And she says, let's stop them here. And I was just like, she just referred to herself like she's on the Chiefs. Like us. We're going to stop the Texans here. And I said, "What? Why? What did you just say?" And she said, "I'm rooting for a tie." It was the first quarter. It was the first quarter of a football game. It's 4th and 1. I don't know what the score was at that point. Might have been 7-0, might have been nothing. And she wanted to stop. Because in the first quarter, she was positioning herself for a tie, which would have been fantastic, by the way. And at one point, they were tied with 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I thought this could actually happen. And
they went for it on 4th and short at their own 30.
Yeah. I don't remember my point. Just that game, I didn't know what I was rooting for. I know that technically. Oh, I know the point. Technically, I was rooting for the Chiefs because the Bills have a tiebreaker on them. And if you think the Bills aren't going to win all their games, then you want to make sure they stay in the top 7. And in order to do that, you want the team that you beat to beat the team that you lost to. And that part makes sense. But I just want the Chiefs to go away. And I want the Ravens to go away. And they have mostly gone away. And then one of them might pop back in. It's possible. But the reality is, when we get to the playoffs, I want the Bills to be the experienced veteran. Don't want to play them regardless of where they are positioned. It doesn't matter if you're on the road or if you're at home. Or I want to see a bunch of nothings in the Bills and these threats to us, the Bengals in the past. These threats eliminated ASAP. So I found myself rooting for Houston, despite the fact that Houston is a much scarier opponent in the playoffs for the Bills than Kansas City would be in the playoffs for the Bills. And trying to convince my wife that, I know you have bad experiences with watching that red team on television, but this is not 5 years ago. And we remember 2 weeks ago what Houston did. And, if you want a history. We remember what Houston did to the Bills in the regular season last year, and we remember what Houston did to the Bills the first year the Bills made the playoffs after the drought. Like all this stuff. The second year, but the first Josh Allen, Josh Allen playoff game was against Houston, and they ended up losing, although they should have had a free touchdown at the start of the second half that was never given to them. The point is, I'm not afraid of uniforms. I'm afraid of teams that can actually take care of you. So Houston creeps into that, but the rest of them do not. They don't. Okay, your turn.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I 100% agree. All right, let's skip around college football a little bit since they had their big weekend. Playoffs are set, bowl games are set. I'll start though in championship weekend in our neck of the woods in the MAC. I complained last week about how it's ridiculous that Miami, Ohio won their three-way tiebreak to make it to the championship game because they had lost to the other two teams directly head-to-head. And it showed. They got crushed by Western Michigan. Why? Because they shouldn't have been there. They were not good enough to be in there. That should have been Ohio or Toledo, who beat Miami, Ohio head-to-head. Either one of those two teams would have been a better choice. This is something that is plaguing all of college football across the land because everybody got rid of divisions and there are uneven schedules and you don't get to see everybody play each other and there's no more divisions. So people got to work it out. I mean, it's the reason why everybody's talking about the college football playoff is because in the tiebreaker formula, 7-5 Duke ends up in the championship game instead of 10-2 Miami because of some weird tiebreak. And they're in there because there's 35 teams in the ACC, just like there are 48 teams in the Big Ten. You know, obviously I'm exaggerating, but there are too many teams.
A little.
That is why we are in this situation. That is why everybody is upset about, you know, whoever their favorite team is not making it into the playoff. If everyone had just stayed where they had been, this would all be fine. Everybody would be satisfied.
Can I throw this at you real quick?
That's something that needs to be ironed out because, again, Miami looked overwhelmed. They were physically dominated from the third play of the game on.
Yeah. They
did not belong on that field with Western, and it's because they should have finished fourth in the conference.
You know that we typically on Fridays get a college football pick from you, and
Yes.
we didn't. We just ran out of time or forgot or something. But I would like to go on the record and say that you told me in advance what your pick was that you forgot to give or that we forgot to give. I won't blame you. And it was, in fact, Western taking out Miami. That you said that in advance, and then you texted me as the game was going on, like, yeah, we didn't get to that, did we? Like, no, it sucks. But
No.
you did tell me in advance that we forgot before the game started. You're like, oh, we forgot to do the pick, which was Western.
Unfortunate, but will still count.
Sure. Here's a question: do we, the way that you're talking about 10-2 Miami versus 7-5 Duke, is that the thing? Is that exactly the same thing that we always have to do when talking about the MAC, and we're just neglecting it? Because I mean, there's a part of that, like out of conference schedule. If you're Miami and you're loading up with cupcakes, and you're Duke, and I haven't seen their schedule, I don't know, but like that's a part of it too. Like when we say 10-2 versus 7-5, we're just ignoring the fact that when we talk about MAC teams, we get rid of the conference thing because they all do it differently, or the out of conference thing, excuse me, because they all do it differently. Do you understand the question that I'm trying to ask you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I understand that, but Miami has been in the top 15 basically all year, and they do have a win over Notre Dame. So, you know, it's clearly they are a better team, but once it's all down to conference play, and it's their own fault for throwing 5 interceptions on a Friday night against Louisville. You know, don't do that and win, and you're fine. But still, the tie-breaking situation there has to be some type of adjustment here because the real answer to it is hey, why don't we have divisions? Why don't we bring divisions back? And in the case of, let's just say, the ACC, there'll be 9-1 division, 8 in the other, or 9-9, whatever it is. You play everybody in your division. 8 games, you play everybody, you end up with the top, and then the 2 teams play. Well, the problem with that is, at that point, those are just 2 conferences.
Yeah.
Those are just 2 conferences. So they can't really they can't do that, because then it almost would be admitting, all right, this is stupid. This was stupid. But that's really the answer. That's really the answer. But they're not going to do that. So we have to figure out a tie-breaking situation or scenario where we can try to. The one in the case of the MAC seems to be easy. There should just be an addendum to it, to the head-to-head, that says if there's a 3-way tie and one team has lost to both of the other 2 teams, they are out. So, that's a pretty easy one, and I think everybody should be able to.
I think that'll be in for next year, right?
I would hope so.
Yeah,
I would hope so.
I think Miami would agree. Like they had to feel a little dirty going to the championship game.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Kind of gross.
So while we're in the neighborhood and we mentioned Duke, how about Duke pulling the upset, winning the ACC? And the reason why I like that so much is because North Carolina brings in Bill Belichick to be the savior. And he is the greatest coach of all time. And North Carolina is here. And we're putting in all the money. And all of that leads to them sitting at home, not going to a bowl game, watching their arch rival Duke win the ACC for the first time in 35 years.
It's their arch rival in basketball. Do they even think of them in football?
Yes, no, that's a big game in football between those two. It's not a big game overall in the college football landscape usually.
Right, but they care.
But between those 2 schools, it is definitely a thing. So, yeah,
that's great.
It's just chef's kiss. Beautiful. That's just a beautiful sight to anybody that was tormented by Belichick for 20 years or more.
Yeah, no,
that he
great.
has to just kind of sit there and eat it.
All right. I have a college football thing that I'm sure you're prepared to talk about, but we didn't discuss this in advance. I like Ohio State. I enjoy them as like if I'm all about the Bulls, but in big 4-3, whatever we're calling it now. Ohio State's a team that I root for. I've been to a bunch of games there. I've got friends there. I like it. I own a Spielman jersey. I like them. I think they shouldn't be in the hunt for the national title after losing to Indiana. And the current setup, they're going to be in the playoff. They're going to be fine. They're just, the path will be a little bit different, but it's going to be a bunch of neutral site games anyway. And how much did anything actually change aside from having to play one extra game by losing the 1 seed, which clearly they were going to get if they beat Indiana the other day. I miss that. College football has lost its edge. I like the playoff. I enjoy the playoff when it comes around. I like the debate about who gets in, and I think it's pretty good. But the massive thing that's missing is a team's ability to blow its chances at the title in September or even in December in this case, to go into a game and lose. You're supposed to beat Indiana there. You're supposed to do it. And you didn't do it, and now you're not the champion, to me. But there's still a really good chance they wind up the champion. There's something wrong there, right? Am I nuts?
Well, I mean, you're talking about also last year losing to Michigan in the last week of the season.
Right. This one's
what you're talking about, though, is the real basis and the drive and the fervor that has come and that is college football for the last over 125 years now is consequences. And that there are dire consequences because this is not the NFL. You do not get in. And I don't like the play. I like the +1 format where it's 4 teams. I liked that. If they gave me an option, I would probably still go back to that. Even though I do like watching more games, I like more football. I'm fine with that. But what you're talking about is consequences. And for, 125 years or whatever it is, a loss like that for Ohio State would have been devastating and been the end of the road. I was actually talking a little bit about this with my older son this weekend, where I had to explain that for me growing up, this game, Ohio State taking this loss, would be the end of the road for the number one team all year long.
Right.
They would have gotten to the last week, and their season is, they'd be going to a bowl game, but their national championship is over.
It'd be just
for
somewhere in
generations.
Texas.
For generations, it was, you better win every game, bro, or you're not lifting anything but the Citrus Bowl trophy. Like, that's part of the greatness. That's where these rivalries really have come from.
Right.
That's why Ohio State, Michigan is so big, and the Iron Bowl, because for so often these teams will have magical seasons and they'll get to the end of the road and their arch enemy is standing there with a pitchfork and a knife ready to carve their heart out. And so often they did. How many times have we seen Auburn versus Alabama for a long time? The winner of that was going to the championship game. Michigan, Ohio State.
Yeah.
How many times was that game was the determining factor for who went to the Rose Bowl?
Right. I went to one of those. I went to Michigan had a great year and Ohio State had a down year, and the last game of the year the Wolverines had to go into the shoe, and I was there, and it was Ted Ginn as a freshman with a punt return touchdown, and they destroyed Michigan's life by winning that game, and that is missing, and that you're right. Like, that's the rivalry thing. Let me tell you. I think the adjustment here on it, and I think it stinks because those consequences for the top 5 or 6 teams are no longer as dire. But there are still those consequences. It's just moved down the tree. So now, if you're anywhere from 9 to 16, it's still having those same consequences. It's still having those same impacts. It's just not the top 6, and I agree with you. Last year's national championship for Ohio State, does anybody in Michigan really recognize it? Because it's like, oh yeah, you won, but you only won after you got your butt whipped on national television in your own stadium by us. So, whatever. There still is some of that. And even thinking back, do you remember, I think it was 2008, out of nowhere, West Virginia was undefeated and set to play in the national championship game. Geno Smith?
And all they had to do was win the last game of the season at home against 3-win Pittsburgh in the backyard brawl. And they lost. They lost the national championship to the people they hate the most. And that's what's great about it. And there has been a little bit of that lost, but I still think that there is enough consequence. The field as of right now is still small enough that those consequences still exist. And it leads me into part of my other thing that I have here, which is it's very frustrating to hear people on these shows talk about how everybody else from the SEC should have these consequences, except for teams in the SEC, because their losses are better.
Right.
Their losses are just losses. I hate it. The depth in the SEC is no different than any other conference. Do they have better players than the MAC? Yes. But the consequences should still be the same. And it goes right along with yesterday having to hear Nick Saban say, with all due respect, there's 2 group of 5 teams in here that, all right, they're in by the rule, but they shouldn't be there. No, they should be there. Let me tell you why. It's because these big guys in money are terrified if they let the group of 5 in, that what's going to happen in football might be a direct result of what has happened in basketball. In basketball, in college basketball, they let Butler have a shot. they let Gonzaga have a shot, and they became real, and they became another obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want that because they're making it seem like it's impossible for these teams to win, and it will be hard. Tulane lost by 4 scores at Ole Miss, and they're going to go back there again and try it again.
When was that?
But,
7 years ago?
Well, no, that was September.
That's a joke. You said 4 scores,
No, I
and
know.
then I added the 7.
Oh, yeah, no, all right. Yeah, you got it. So
Stupid.
I seem to remember Tulane a couple of years ago facing an 11-win USC team with the Heisman Trophy winner and beating them. I seem to remember Central Florida beating Auburn. I seem to remember all these teams when they actually got Boise State beating Oklahoma. I seem to remember more often than not when these teams actually get shots, they're fine. They compete. They're good. Boise State lost to Penn State last year, but if you actually watch the game, that was a 1-score game for most of the time. They kept missing opportunities and missing field goals. Like, that was a close game. And Boise State didn't even play that well in it. It's ridiculous to think that these teams, Tulane and James Madison in this instance, because on paper they don't have all the 4 or 5-star teams, they can't get out there and they shouldn't deserve to have a shot, is utterly ridiculous. If you're going to have a playoff of more than 4 teams, which we all agreed that we do, then you have to understand that there are other teams and other games in college football that matter. And if you want to only watch the SEC, you're not a college football fan. You're an NFL fan with a football problem because you want to watch it on Saturdays too. If you don't like Group of 5 football, you're not a college football fan.
Well,
That's just it.
Isn't the beauty of college football? Let's go to the video game. Isn't the beauty, like, the thing that my kids who are young, like 11 and 9, the two that care about football, the reason that they don't care about Madden anymore is because they realized how interesting it is to have 135 teams instead of 32 teams. There's just so much more going on. There's so many more places to go and things to see and songs to hear and jerseys to look at and stadiums, and all of that is what makes college football great. You said that perfectly, that if you only like the SEC, you're just an NFL fan. That's right. The beauty of college football is there are levels of things, and why? How did Khalil Mack wind up at UB? Like, that's fascinating. Fascinating to see a future Hall of Fame player hanging out in Buffalo, making our lives more interesting, That's what college football is. And yeah, you need the big and the small. Like, I had been to so many UB games before and a bunch of Syracuse games before I went to an Ohio State-Michigan game and went, oh, there's this kind of college football too. But all the flavors mixing together is what makes the sport just beautiful.
Yeah. It's just ridiculous. It's, they did the same thing remember Northern Illinois went undefeated and they got picked to go to the Orange Bowl to face Florida State, and everyone was like, oh, this team doesn't deserve to be there. It's like, yes, they do. Yes, they do. They're here too. We're here too. We're all playing football. And if you don't allow the Group of 5 to have the opportunities when they have earned it, then there's no reason for them to exist at this level, and you're just excluding them, and they should form their own championship. If that's I don't agree with that.
Yeah, but we might be going there. We might be heading there.
But listen, it might be, but teams that earn things should be given them, not just based on recruiting rankings. Because I saw a kid named Diego Pavia 3 years ago be unknown and take New Mexico State into Auburn and whoop their ass. Bad. Like, they beat them bad. This stuff happens all the time. Toledo went down to Mississippi State 2 years ago and beat them by 3 scores. This stuff happens all the time, and they act like it's completely impossible, and it's not. They just want everybody to think that it is impossible so that they can get their own share of the money back in their own pockets. if Notre Dame, by the way, what a bunch of cowards, not even going to a bowl game after not getting in.
All right.
That's a complete disrespect to the game and the sport. I've lost all respect that I even had for the Irish. That's a complete Bush League move. It's disrespectful. It's a coward's way out. It's a crybaby, and it makes me glad that they didn't make the playoff.
Well, and
they
it
didn't
also
deserve it. They
started
lost 2 games. They suck.
It started a trend too, to where it's like, nah, I'm not going to go. Nah, I'm not going to. I learned most of this from you via text message. Like, they just opted out. They're out. They're out. What the hell's going on? Is Notre Dame to blame? And is this fixable? Like, I don't want 5 and 7 teams in bowl games. Like, how do you fix it? Is it the fact that we don't have an overriding, like an overlord of the sport that says, no, that's where you're playing. Here's your game. Like NCAA basketball tournament. Nobody says, nah, I don't want to go because I live in Florida and I don't want to go to Boise, or I live in the state of Washington and I don't want to go to Virginia. Like, this doesn't happen in basketball. You're just told where to go and you go. You have to accept a bid to a bowl game, and maybe that's the problem. How does this work? What the hell are we talking about?
Kansas State and Iowa State turned it down, and I think that was based upon that they have had recent coaching changes. And in the case of Kansas State, their coach is still the offensive coordinator at Texas A&M. So there's a big leadership gap.
Yeah, there's a hole.
Could they have done it? Yes. Should they have done it? Yes. I think that they should have had their coach that just decided to retire. I think that they as a team should have said, this guy has given us an opportunity and he's believed in us. Let's take this opportunity to send our coach that we like out with a win and play together one more time as a team, and let's go play and compete. And instead they just said no. But okay, you can kind of understand it from the standpoint of like the administration saying that that's okay. Iowa State, same thing. They just had their coach within the last 6 days leave. So it's like, all right, now we don't have a coach. We're trying to transition and bring in new people, and because of the calendar and recruiting, like it's been a mess. So I kind of understand that. Notre Dame has no excuse. They carry themselves as one of the big linchpin brands of college football, and they are. Historically, they are one of the most important teams that college football is the way it is, in part because of Notre Dame. They have a responsibility. If you're going to take all the money and you're going to take all, have your own deal and be independent and then whine and complain every week about everything, then you have a responsibility to get out there and play. And they didn't. And so from now on, I'm looking at them entirely different. And it goes right in line with, they haven't renewed their series with USC, which is like a 75-year series and has been another one of those games that historically is one of the most important games on the calendar of college football that oftentimes has determined who the national champion of college football is. And it's just because they don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
USC is fine. They're on board. But for Notre Dame, they're looking to make their schedule easier. So, if they're not going to join a conference, they're going to be in the same situation every year because they have no ability to get a conference championship game. And, I don't know. It's frustrating. It's frustrating to hear them complain and then quit like that. I'll throw in one other thing just from our season preview when we talked.
Season preview? What season do we preview?
Well, college football.
Oh,
we were talking college just before the kickoff.
You remember what we talked about on our season preview of college football?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. That's why I keep you around, man.
Well, I
don't remember anything. Oh,
so,
okay. All right. That helps.
I mentioned that there was one team to keep an eye on this year because they're going to be kind of a canary in the coal mine, and that was Texas Tech, because they had went out and they spent more money in the history of college football to assemble this roster. They went out and they just went and bought everybody that they wanted. And it was going to be a test of, would this work? Is this going to be a viable option? Because if it does work for them and all of a sudden a team in Lubbock ends up being very good and challenging for the championship, you're going to get a lot of attention from other teams that will look to that as a blueprint. Well, they are fourth in the country, and they are getting a first-round bye in the college football playoff. Texas Tech just won the Big 12 for the first time in, I don't know, since World War II, something ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it has worked. It's worked. It's a fascinating story overall. Their main booster, who is a big billionaire,
That's my favorite kind of billionaires, the big ones.
Yeah, did a recent interview and basically kind of laid out how they did it and what was happening. And he said, I saw a window in which there's probably going to be legislation and rules about what the money situation is going to be very quickly, which is right. That's coming. And the revenue sharing and all that is coming. He said, but they're not here yet. So there still isn't any rules. So I saw that as an opportunity. I gathered up some of the other big rich boosters at Texas Tech. We had a big meeting together and sat down and said, we have an opportunity to go out and spend whatever money we want to make a winner right now. We can front load all the deals and all the contracts with all these kids so that if there is something coming down the line, we'll still be okay, but we'll be able to throw as much money now that we can and try to do it and make it an instant winner. And he got the other 3 or 4 guys on board. They all went in, met with the coach, and said, here's the deal. There is a blank check for you to assemble this team for this year. And he said the coach obviously was accepted that. And he said it basically came down at the end to talent evaluation. And the way that they were very upfront and honest with it and had all that money guaranteed upfront and ready to go going into the transfer portal. They basically sat down with the first 10 guys that they really wanted and got them right away because they had it all organized, laid out, and said, we're going to give you this amount of money. Here it is. This is the deal coming in. And he said that was how it worked. We just saw an opportunity where this might be the last chance we get to go, all the way and, with no rules, be able to put our money towards this thing that we all love. And they did it, and it has worked. They've got one of the best defenses in the country. I don't know if they've got enough offense to win, but I would think that it's going to be something that will definitely be looked at by some of the other blue bloods.
Sure.
And, again, before any real hard and fast rule is passed, they're probably going to want to do something like this.
Well, and the other thing, too, it's like you do it, and it's not like – let's say a rule gets passed in time for next season, you still established something. Like, I don't know if they're going to win the national title, but they're in the conversation. They saw a path to elevate themselves overall. And yeah, I mean, it's for this year, but it's not just for this year. It's like, are we now in the real conversation? Are we a real team that people have to contend with? And maybe, you get, once you establish that you're real, that might help even after the rules change. And, they will attempt to flaunt the rules next time too. You throw out something new that tells you you're violating something here, but it's a good idea. It's a good idea. I respect it, honestly. Like, I don't like that they took our kicker, but I respect it. I get it. We got money.
That's a good illustration of how much money we're talking about here.
Yeah, right.
The Bulls kicker last year went to Texas Tech, and he's not even their regular kicker, and he's making 6 figures.
Yeah.
Like, that's the type of money we're talking about. They're like, what happens if our kicker gets hurt? Who cares? Let's go get another good one for $600 or for whatever, a couple $100,000. Okay. All right. Yeah, let's do that. So, I mean, that's the type of money. And I know we're getting late here, so I'll throw in an update here because we talked about it the other day.
I have an update too.
My World Cup situation.
Oh yeah.
I have tickets. Turned out after the draw and all the decisions were made that I have Croatia versus Ghana as you kind of have to get a little bit deeper in the weeds to be a soccer fan, but that's a very good matchup. the Black Stars of Ghana, one of the better teams in Africa, probably the third best team in Africa outside of Morocco and Algeria. And then Croatia, small country, but they came in second in 2018, and they came in third in 2022. They have been one of the top 4 teams in the world.
Are you saying second and third in the World Cup?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So they have been consistently one of the top 5 teams in the world, especially in these competitions.
Oh, I didn't know that at all. I had a sense. I watched the selection, whatever that was called, the final draw or whatever. I watched that, and some of it I liked, some of it I didn't. But I had a sense that Croatia, I'm like, oh yeah, that they seem good, but second in the World Cup is not something that I thought. Okay.
Yeah, second in 2018, third. They won the third place game in 2022. The other game in the group that I could have had was England-Panama, and they put that one, instead of in Philadelphia, they put that one in New York City, which I thought was going to happen because that's England,
of course,
and that's
yeah.
New York City. So I ended up with a very good group. Very easily could have had Ivory Coast versus Curaçao. So I am thrilled to get
Sure.
Croatia versus Ghana. I will throw in this other thing about the World Cup draw that I've just learned is FIFA, before all this, I guess, set certain themed days or themed games where they would celebrate different things. One of them was they decided a game up in Seattle would be a pride, like a gay pride game. The draw comes down, and I'd like to tell you the participants in that game will be Egypt versus Iran.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome.
That is something. That's going to be something.
Are they going to dress them in rainbows, or like what's the deal?
I don't know.
Wow.
I think it's just one of those things where they're doing, salute to service.
That's just too many ideas. That's just too many people having too many ideas and trying to combine them. And next thing you know, Egypt's playing Iran in a gay pride game in Seattle. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that will be a very interesting afternoon between those two. I don't know what they're going to do. Like, I don't know how that's addressed.
I think they just ignore it. I think there's going to be it's going to be graphics on the screen and the end, because this one didn't work out as well as somebody had an idea and it's not going to work. But okay.
And just the ceremony in general that they had for the World Cup draw was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen.
Kevin Hart next to Shaq was fun though.
Yeah, that was fine. I think it's interesting that all the people that actually did the draw, they brought out Tom Brady, Shaq,
Aaron Judge,
and Wayne Gretzky.
None
of them played soccer.
Right.
None of them play soccer. No one else in the world has any idea really who any of them are, probably outside of Shaq. There are probably some Scandinavian countries that are familiar with Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah.
But, and then on top of that, Wayne Gretzky apparently can't read, which is interesting to find out.
He came off as super dumb. I've never thought that. I've never thought that about him my whole life. He's the great one, the end. And I have less respect. And I've met him. I've spoken with him. And he was fine. They put him in a bad spot. That said, I was trying to think of who would you put? Like, if you want to, who's the most famous American soccer personality? I'm at like Alexi Lawless and Mia Hamm is all I've got.
Landon Donovan.
Okay.
I'm with you. I agree with you. I'm just saying that there's not even, I don't know. Did they have to even be American?
I don't know.
They could have just had great World Cup players.
Just David Beckham. David Beckham represents the United States. It's fine. He played MLS. It's fine.
He played MLS. He owns Miami, the MLS team now.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's like,
Yeah, that would have been fine.
It was just odd.
And I didn't know the other people because I don't know soccer or football or whatever. That was weird. That one thing was like, we're gonna call it football now, okay? And like that part was stupid. I don't know who that short woman was. I didn't know who the guy was, although he was good because he was helping explain what was going on with the draw. I was into the broadcast. I thought it was fun, but it was weird, and it felt very foreign, despite coming from the Kennedy Center in D.C.
The Peace Prize, which was created solely for our dear leader. Was interesting. That gave me a lot of memories of the MTV Music Awards in order to get Michael Jackson there, saying that they are giving away the Video Vanguard Award, which didn't exist before and has never been given out again.
Right. We like you.
Exist.
We'd like to honor you. But I don't feel like Michael Jackson made. I don't feel like I don't feel like Michael Jackson told MTV that they had to award him something. Like you just said, how do I get you here? Trump's like, you want to play soccer here? All right, give me a Peace Prize. Like, what the hell is going on?
The Soccer Peace Prize, which I think Saturday Night Live did a good bit on it.
Oh, really? Cool.
Just by showing, it was during their weekend update in which they showed the trophy, said that he got it, and then if you actually look at the trophy, it's just a bunch of hands with a globe, and they said it's clearly clearly showing Donald Trump's hands pulling Earth down into the pits of hell. Which it was
tiny hands.
It's better when you see it. It was very funny, but the whole thing was odd, but it was exciting knowing that I have these mystery tickets and I'm waiting to see what teams are in there, and then the first draw goes through the first round, and I could see England. Okay. All right, that's fun. And then got some other good teams. So I'm very fortunate. It could have, again, I could have seen Haiti. I could have seen there's a lot of bad teams this year because of how many there are now in the World Cup. And I could have had any number of terrible, terrible matchups, but I feel fortunate with what I've got. Toronto has some pretty good matchups as well.
Good.
They've had obviously they're going to have one of the Canada games. They'll have the first one against a team that they don't know who it is yet, but they also have gone to Panama. They've got a Germany game. They'll have a Croatia game. They've got Senegal versus another European team. So they've got some
cool.
They've got a couple of big names up there, but
I have to end this. I just got a text message that I have to leave now to go to a parent-teacher conference. I heard my kid come home. He's got a half day again, and it's because they're parent-teacher conferences. Ours is at 12:30. It's now 12:18. I have to shut this off, and then I have to get in the car and go talk to my kid's teacher. All right, bye. There's Scott Wilson. It's Writer Radio episode 221. We'll be back with 222 tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Writer Radio is a BKR Media production.
Wrong. No, not that. This.
What are you doing for lunch?
I don't know. I have a turkey sandwich.
We're gonna go around the corner. I think you should come with us. This is a great place.
I don't know. Okay.
We brought you a shirt.
You get out of here? Will you get out of here? Will you? Now, will you go to lunch? Go to lunch. Will you go to lunch?